Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Wednesday, hump day to you. Hope you're having an amazing day. CPI data came back in today. Strong 3.7%. We're seeing some nice movement from Bitcoin. And hypothetically, if it continues higher, which it seems to be the case for the moment, we can see that UNFI, whatever you want to call it, should continue to progress higher. Because as we can kind of see, there's a little bit of synonymous behavior here with Bitcoin and UNFI. A little bit of decrease here from UNFI, kind of steady consolidation. But what's interesting about this, and this is some important stuff to recognize, these key levels here are lining up pretty darn well with Fibonacci retracement. So we can kind of see that this most recent high here, kind of giving us that indication that this $9.35 is going to be a potential resistance here for us. But we also see here as well, price action is continuing nicely among this ascending trend. Now keep in mind, ascending trends are commonly aligned with the 20-day simple moving average. And as I've talked about previously, this is an important point of contention. Staying above that level is beneficial for us to see more further upside from this coin. So I don't think it's done continuing here. There's a good chance we should be able to see that 935 and or possibly 1130 retested here in the near future. Okay, so looking very positive there in the overall sense of things. So if you're new to the channel, keep this in mind. I love teaching people to trade. I've been trading for a very long time, and my goal is to help you not get wrecked, right? And I also offer trading signals, community. We got a Discord, Telegram, and Twitter, of course. Help us grow those communities here. In fact, what's interesting, we've only got 5 votes so far, but most people think that Bitcoin's going to hit 25,000 first before 27,000. Now, my Telegram community thinks a lot different. We got a lot more votes over there, and they're thinking more so bullish, but it just depends on how things are going. Let us know, of course, in the comments if you have any interest, or jump over to those areas there and essentially help us grow those communities. Quick little congratulations to our community members here in our premium, of course. We got a 41% here. Blue Zell, a recent trade there long. Same thing with Solana. Both those are almost at their second target here, especially if Bitcoin can retest at 26.7. Okay. Now, again, I talk a lot about Bitcoin because the simple fact that it's kind of the major catalyst for a lot of altcoins. So if you're not familiar with either my daily analysis videos for that or just in general how to understand and interpret Bitcoin, you're doing yourself a disservice because altcoins move very synonymous in a lot of ways, and the outliers are the ones you want to kind of identify. And right now, UNFI is doing very well, complementary of Bitcoin, but also more likely to break out and continue if Bitcoin regresses. Okay, now that we've had this nice steady consolidation. So what does this all mean? Let's talk about it. So 0.5 Fibonacci is a key level support. That is a volume support for us here based on previous momentum. If we take a look at the big picture here, kind of just go back a ways, we can see our volume profile averages itself out roughly about $5.30 upwards of about $6.50. Okay, so definitely good stuff there in that sense. It's looking pretty darn healthy, for lack of better terms here. But the most recent volume profile, we're starting to see a larger accumulation right here at the current price point, just below rather, at about $7.80. So that 780 to 720 range is going to be a key level support for us here. In fact, let's go ahead and just put out a nice little box here, kind of letting us know that this is a range here based on volume. And we can kind of understand that that will generally hold the price action in place here if we come back down there to that level again. Okay, so again, there's no guarantees, but I really like to kind of focus on volume and make sure we pay attention to that, because volume is definitely an important factor when it comes to trading. Okay, so that is a volume support we have so far, but just bear in mind that's kind of the bigger picture there. So looking at the rest of the important factors here on the daily, we effectively bounced off of 50 on the RSI. While it came down to 55, didn't have to retest that specifically. We got that key level bounce off of the most recent volume support. We've also got a continuation here for the MACD, basically letting us know that while it is still digressing and we're still diverging, you got to keep this in mind, we could see higher lows or lower lows and lower highs moving forward. We're starting to see less of a significance here to the downside. Granted, this candlestick hasn't closed yet, the daily candle hasn't closed yet, but the bottom line here is that if the price can maintain its current level or higher, we should be in a position where we see the price continue. Speaking of higher, if we take a look here as well, there is a small fair value gap up here, roughly in the range of about 9.6. So there, if we do see a candle wick up there, we could see a retracement or a rejection off the 930 to 960 range. Okay, now keep in mind, I do send out these updates pretty consistently throughout the day on our Twitter, right? So I will always provide you with play-out charts once I review the coin. So if you want to kind of look at that as well as a result of this here, that'll be available on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. Okay? But between now and then, what we want to recognize is that we got good momentum, we've got decent bounce off volume support, we're above that moving average, the ascending trend is still trending ascendingly, and we're in pretty darn good shape there. Okay, so the overall sense here is pretty good, What we want to look at is some middle range here stuff, kind of see what's going on. Now, this is that fair value gap that you couldn't identify in the daily. A little more stark reality on the 4 hour. We got a pretty significant gap here between 940 and 1040. Okay, now that's basically just meaning that this price action dropped really fast in that 4 hour time frame, and there's still a lot of value left there. So hypothetically, we got some liquidity right at that level and just above, and those are oftentimes something that are retested. So we could very well see a liquidity sweep up here before the next leg down. A lot of times these liquidity sweeps occur in a cup and handle pattern. That's why they are cup and handle patterns, because they retest those levels, eventually break, flip that to a support. So what we're looking for here is a retest of the 1030, and then of course potential secondary retest to complete the handle, and again come back down to test as support and go up. Now that's just a standard traditional ways that the price action will continue upwards. No guarantees it's going to happen, but we are starting to see that form. Okay, so it would make sense the fair value gap and the liquidity levels get retested here soon. So just bear that in mind. This coin's looking pretty good. On a smaller note, we can kind of see here this most recent high. We broke through that. That's the first step in the right direction to kind of confirm this is more so bullish than bearish. There's a lot of other factors, of course, too. Convergence on the MACD still continuing, breaking through 50 on the RSI. But most important here, this little guy, this most recent high that was continuously making lower highs, is no longer making lower highs. It's now effectively going to be the next bouncing point if the price pulls back to continue upwards. So if you are the patient trader, more so like myself, I prefer to wait for good entries. I would wait for the price to come down to about 835 and consider entry there. In fact, I'll go ahead and set an alert here just to be notified in case the price comes down to that range. We can reevaluate, but it's very common for this previous resistance level to turn into a support level moving forward. Okay, again, this is pending Bitcoin doesn't take a nosedive to 25,000, because even though this coin has proven to be very well independent of Bitcoin in a lot of ways, it's still very much codependent on the success of Bitcoin dominance. And if that does start to decrease, we could see some alts start to fall. What we're hoping for right now, in fact, just to touch on Bitcoin dominance, I've got this chart up here pinned into my education category. You can kind of see here that when Bitcoin dominance is up, which it is right now, and Bitcoin price is up, most alts are going to go down. Okay, now right now we're seeing alts kind of stabilizing, which does imply that we're most likely going to see the stabilizing of Bitcoin. Okay, again, Bitcoin is essentially hanging out at that 26,000 range. Just know if Bitcoin does start to surge here soon, we'll start to see small coins dump first, and then of course, once Bitcoin dominance stabilizes, we could very well see the price of alts go up with that stabilizing. Okay, again, a lot of little things, back-end stuff that I cover in my typical Bitcoin analysis videos, but just to kind of touch on this here, you can see Bitcoin dominance is on the rise and Bitcoin price is increasing too. It does imply we're going to see somewhat of a sell-off from a majority of alts here in the relative near future. Just be mindful of that. This coin, again, is fairly independent of Bitcoin, so I'm not super concerned. Okay, what we also want to look at here, just kind of summarize, is just the 1 hour. I primarily use the hourly for the Ichimoku cloud. This tells us we broke above this cloud line here, basically, which was the neck at about $8 even. So that does imply if the price pulls back, $8 would be a good bouncing point. But we can also see here, of course, over on the side, starting to average itself out with that Fibonacci retracement level, 8.15. So 815 would be a bouncing point here in the relative near future if we see that. Good chance, though, that we're going to continue to maintain this. So this basically just tells us we have green light to leave your long position open. This doesn't necessarily imply you want to jump into a long position, because again, this is just me personally. I would like to wait for the price to pull back to this level before I get entry. Okay, so if I'm going to set a swing trade, I'm going to set it at 845, 843, roughly at that level, so we can get that potential bounce before the next leg up. Once more, I missed out on a lot of opportunities. You got to recognize that. And every trader does too. Really, that's the truth of the market. But I'd much rather wait for a good opportunity than jump into a bad one or potentially running one. I really don't like to buy the top, and I prefer to buy as good of a bottom as I can. So I'd rather wait on an opportunity that doesn't come than to jump into a coin that is running and it turns itself around instantly, right? So try to be patient. That's something I try to teach my trading academy. If you're part of my community, of course, be sure you just double check that. We do have a discount right now in the month of September. It's our summer sale. Summer is ending here, and it's important to kind of lock in that rate if you want. So again, all that information is down below. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for joining me here. That is the extent of this video here. I hope you learned something. If you did, comment below. Like, subscribe, follow, Discord, Twitter, Telegram, all those things. Awesome, awesome stuff. Greatly appreciate you jumping over there and helping out. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.